Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. It is 2 p.m. on the West Coast. This is Dr. Patrick Scott here doing YouTube Live. And excited today to talk about a couple of things. If you follow me on Instagram or if you follow me on other platforms, I've been talking this week about the chakra system, the Ayurvedic chakra system. And I want to talk about that as it relates to, the energy centers in your body in terms of healing. And then I also want to talk about the shadow and just get into, some dialogue about the shadow. Carl Jung talked about, we have this persona of who we think we are, and then we have this other part of us where we say, yeah, that's not me. There's no way I could do that. There's no way I could be that. And so they seem disparate, but for some reason, what was coming up for me today, and this is kind of how I decide what to talk about, is just things I see in my environment, things I see in the universe. I want to talk about that. So, the chakras, ironically, we study Huna, ancient Hawaiian Huna, and the Hawaiians identified thousands, millennia ago, that there were things called moku in the body. And moku is literally the word in Hawaiian for island. And so they were calling these islands of energy. And if you look in the Hawaiian system, as we do in Huna, you can see that they correspond for second, third, well through seventh at roughly the same place that the Ayurvedic East Indians from India identified what they call the chakra system, and they happened about the same time. And so I always think it's interesting in history when we have systems that arise. And you remember they had no ability to connect with each other. There was nobody talking to each other. There was no, internet or Instagram or anything else. And so that theorists, healers, shamans, priests, scientists, doctors of whatever kinds back in the day identified that there were these energy centers. And so I want to start really simply with your own felt experience, because people, chakras is kind of an ambiguous, it's like, well, what's a chakra and who cares? And why would I need to know this? So if you have ever had an emotion, a feeling. If you've ever felt like you've had something like butterflies in your stomach, or something in the pit of your stomach, or you've had some sort of a chest pressure or tightness, or you've ever had some of a constriction in your throat, if you've ever, had some second guessing of yourself, that kind of thing, with a headache maybe, or maybe you have felt a lack of grounding where you don't feel like you're very grounded on the planet, and you're feeling like you're just floating aimlessly, and then you do something like go into nature or walk on the earth barefoot, or that kind of thing. Or maybe you've had just a lot of emotions and you get into the ocean and the waves of the ocean. And now certainly we're talking about elements, because I've referred to several elements: earth, water, air, and fire, and so on. But what I want to tie it back to is this idea that emotions, one theorist, I don't remember who, I know Neil Donald Walsh quoted this in Conversations with God in the 90s, about that really emotion, the word for emotion is energy in motion, which I thought was really, really clever. I thought it was clever that it is energy in motion if you think about how emotions. So think about any time where you have had a physiology. I want to talk about behavior, human behavior, having four essential components. Two of them we can have direct control over, two of them we can't. So, in terms of your own behavior, the only thing that you can control directly is what you do, the actual tasks that you do, and how you think. Now, already there are people that are going to argue with me to say, well, I can't control my thinking. My thinking's all over the place. It's a runaway train most days, all the ruminating and all the stuff, the chatter. But the reality is we have tools, cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitive processing therapy, on and on and on, meditations, where we can actually get a handle on our own thinking and change negative thinking into more positive thinking, and so on. Now, those are the two things that you can directly control. Now, if you go to the other two that I'm talking about, not even less control, out of control, is our emotions, right? Emotions seem to happen out of nowhere. We can be triggered about something. We have no conscious awareness of why it's coming through. So I'm going to say that emotions are a part of our behavior, certainly, meaning, well, there's the things we do, there's the things we think about, and then there's the feelings about. I was talking to the a friend earlier today, and he kept saying, "Well, so and so is in their feelings. They're in their feelings," as if to say they're triggered. Leave them alone. And feelings are real; they happen, and they happen for a variety of reasons. Some of which we understand, some of which we don't. And I think that's the essence of the work I do: is that so much of our emotions and our feelings are driven by triggers and by trauma and by things that we don't necessarily consciously think of. There's the obvious stuff, right, that pisses us off or really frustrates us or whatever. But then there's the, like, and I did a video that'll be posted soon about, my joke is that, getting up on the wrong side of the bed, or not understanding, why I am feeling the way I'm feeling. I am coming up with a lovely compendium of ways to, and this is a joke, people, avoid responsibility. Well, there's the moon, and my favorite is there's the full moon, and there's the new moon, and there's the blue moon, and there's the red moon, and there's the this moon and the harvest moon, and apparently the moon affects our moods. Then there's the tides and all that sort of stuff. Then there's the Schumann, not the Schumann, yeah, there's the Schumann resonance, which I've come up with. You can look that up. And then there's the Mercury in retrograde, and there's all these astrological configurations. And my joke is that, on the one hand, I'm trying to coach all of you into taking as much responsibility as you can for your life, and all that sort of thing. And really, that's kind of the essence of empowerment. Is, if I feel empowered, I'm going to take as much ownership as I can for the things that happen to me and for the things that come out of me, what I say, what I do, how I think, my feelings, and we're going to do our very best. The reality is, we are bombarded. Never mind the people around us. Never mind just the sun and the stars and the news and just what we're bombarded with. Just the emails alone, just the junk calls. We are, as humans, bombarded more so than ever before. And so my joke is that, well, you can blame the moon and you can blame it. Well, gee, it's a full moon. Now, the reality is, every day of the month, the moon's doing something. Well, it's a sliver moon. It's a this moon. It's a new moon. It's a full moon. And so that's my joke. You can blame the moon. You can blame the astrological configurations. It's not my fault Mercury's in retrograde. It's not my fault. Now, this new thing, last few years, that's come out is called the Schumann resonance, Schumann. I did a short video about it, and you can look it up. And it's actually a study of the gamma radiation that's hitting the earth from the sun. So the sun, we used to call them solar flares. So the sun is a big ball of hot gas. It has flares, and some of them are huge, these big explosions on the sun that they can now capture with telescopic imagery. And apparently that radiation, is coming to the earth, and the Schumann resonance measures the amount and frequencies of those radiations that hit the earth. And now they're starting to tie it, the scientific community, to headaches and that. And again, I do, please forgive me, I do try to take this all with a grain of salt, and I do take it with kind of, in a sort of a tongue-in-cheek joking way. But the Schumann resonance, and I said, somebody said, well, is this stuff going to kill us? Is this like asteroids going to hit the earth? And I was like, on the one hand, no, it's not going to kill us. The Mercury in retrograde is not going to kill us, but then everything is killing us. You could get if you really want to get granular. Somebody, I think, some theorist said that from the moment we're born, we're dying. Our life has a finite. So I try to take it in good stride and not get too discouraged about it. So the Schumann resonance is another thing that you can look at if you're feeling grumpy one day. The reality is, you can still only control what you do in terms of your behavior. You can only control how you think. And to a lesser degree, you can influence your feelings, your emotions, right, as they come up. And the last thing on the list, and this is up against the chakra system, and when we talk about the shadow in a moment, you can influence your physiology. Now, what I mean by physiology is your body does stuff. Have you ever noticed that when you get nervous, you'll have a reaction, or when you get triggered, you'll have a feeling in your body? And I don't mean an emotion. I mean a physiological thing, a thing in the pit of your stomach, your jaw tightening, your chest tightening, your breathing changing, you're sweating, you're, having a shake, you're having a twitch, you're having a tremor. And so what I want to talk about today is that the Ayurvedic tradition and the Huna tradition have identified these energy centers as being, well, just that, energy centers, where certain energies that coalesce around certain behaviors, certain emotions, seem to show patterns. And so in this series that I'll be doing over the next few months around chakras, I'm going to help you understand that in the physical body, I'm pausing because there are auric chakras, meaning your aura has chakras. Your There are etheric chakras, meaning a ways out. I'm not going to get too detailed about that. Your business has chakras. Your home has chakras because they're just energy centers. Feng Shui would be the science and study and art of figuring out the placement of things in your environment. Not going to go there. Where we're going today just is the simple seven chakra system in the human body. And then I want to juxtapose that with the talk about the shadow. Because what's been coming up lately is, in spite of our best efforts, we are going to be criticized. We're going to be put down. People are not going to like us. You can't please all the people all of the time. We as humans are under the gun every day. And this is, I think, universal. And the idea, and when I look at just the public domain, the public discourse around politics or religion or just what's going on, not I am not a negative Nelly, if you will. I try to be really, really positive. And the reality is that there are a lot of grumpy people around there. And that pretty much if you spend a lot of time online, if you spend a lot of time looking at different points of view, you'll get different points of view. And that it seems these days mm, um, that no one's ever happy, right? God, what was it? Oh, so Notre Dame Cathedral reopened just a few months ago, I think. I can't remember. It was the fall, I think. I know it was cold there. And this was the in Paris, the sacred cathedral that had been burned down, I think, in 2019, and had been a huge construction project. Now, I lived in France, and I kind of know the culture pretty well, having been an American in Paris for many years. And French are, okay, how do I say this? Quite opinionated about things. There is a center, an art center, a community center, art center in Paris called the Pompidou, named after George Pompidou. And it is a very modern art thing. It opened decades ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And it created quite a lot of furor among the Parisians because it was so ugly. But understand that when the Eiffel Tower was built for the exposition of 1858, don't quote me on that, some year they had the World's Fair in Paris, the Eiffel Tower was built for that World's Fair. Oh my God, a monstrosity, ugly, that kind of thing. And so really, really funny and very critical. And so at once, they also, some of them still think that France and Paris is the center of the universe. And if you go there, it's beautiful, lovely food, love everything. It's really beautiful, got to tell you. So Notre Dame was completely renovated, including they did a lot of modernization of this 1,000-year-old building, including alarm systems and sprinklers and fire retardant things and lots of modernization in terms of security and lighting. And and again, I pay attention to this because I used to go to mass in Notre Dame when I lived there. And because I was Buddhist, I'm not Catholic, but I was looking for a spiritual home, and in my Buddhist community didn't, if it did have a congregation or a collection of people there, I didn't find them. So I really wanted to connect. And on Sundays, I would walk over from where I was living in the Latin Quarter, just across the river to Notre Dame. And I would go in there, and I mean, and again, I'm sensitive to energy and I'm sensitive to feelings. And oh my God, the feeling in there. And that's what I went with. And so I sat through many a mass in Latin. And in those days, they did the mass in Latin. I don't speak Latin. I don't understand Latin, but it moved me tremendously. And this building has mana. This building has a tremendous amount of mana. So in great, great Parisian style, there are the naysayers. And so as I'm following the reopening of Notre Dame, there's all of the French press going, oh my God, and look at the cross is wrong, and this is wrong, and the organist isn't playing the right music, and it's just, I have to laugh at it because it's this magnificent building. And if you watch the ceremonies where they did the reopening, if you watch the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, there were critics. of the Olympics. If you watch the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, there were critics. If you watched Celine Dion up on the Eiffel Tower singing L'Homme d'Amour, lots of critics. And what I'm understanding now just is this is sort of the nature of our world that you can't I don't try to speak in global terms because I understand that everything is relative. But if you're feeling criticized or put down or judged, on any given day about how quickly you pay your bills or don't, or how much money you have in the bank or don't, or how much you have saved for retirement or don't, or the clothes you wear or the whatever, it's important for us to get a sense of our own sense of well-being, our own sense of what's good and what's not good, and make some decisions there. And truly, more than ever before. And remember, I work with teenagers and young adults and tweens and kids and students of all shapes and sizes. They are under the influence of the opinions of their peers more than ever before. And whereas someone of my generation certainly was bullied in school, it wasn't online and it wasn't public. And I'm mortified at some of the criticisms and lies, just frankly, lies put out on social media under the guise of revenge or under the guise of, which leads me then to, and this is a circuitous talk, and I will get back to the point. I know exactly what I'm doing. How do you had a young girl come in going to Catholic school locally here in Las Vegas, a very expensive Catholic school. And she's 13. And in that faith, in that culture, celibacy is valued, waiting until marriage to have sex. And she pissed off some of her young girlfriends, and they put on, I don't remember the platform, whether it was Facebook or Instagram or what it was, or TikTok, but that she was a whore and that she was sleeping around and that she was having sex with all these boys at 13. Of course, she comes into session. She shows me her phone. I mean, it's horrible, horrible stuff. And it's devastating. And I'm going to tell you now, she's fine. We're working through it. And, but I have had kids make suicide attempts behind some of this stuff, and the cyberbullying is really, it's really getting out of hand. And so those are extreme examples, but then you just take, I don't know. And again, anything I say, you can research and look it up. I don't need to be right. I'm just giving you my point of view. And I watch I follow a lot of, because I've lost weight. I follow weight loss things, and I'm older, so I follow anti-aging things and exercise. And, I do that. And all of them with the disclaimer, it's just my opinion. I'm not a healthcare professional. Well, I am a healthcare professional. And some of the stuff that I'm talking about is pretty esoteric and psychological. And if you follow me and you listen to it, you take it everything with a grain of salt. No, it's not even concerned. What I'm aware of is I don't know anymore what you can believe. And so, and I've said this kind of jokingly and in tongue in cheek, she's like, I don't know. Is everything on the internet true? And there is a motivation for people to get their followership up. I don't know if you've heard of the concept of clickbait. Clickbait is where they'll show a very provocative picture with a very provocative headline, and then you click on the video, you watch it. It has nothing to do with what they put on the picture or the headline, but they wanted to get their followership up. And so there's a whole science and the algorithm and all that sort of thing that I don't embrace. I'm on social media because I do realize that I've got about 30 or so years in this body, and I do want to get some of this stuff for posterity. If I were super motivated and had a lot more time, I'd write a book or 2 or 5 or 10. It may be that long after I'm gone, these videos will help support somebody going through some stuff. So what we do know is that emotions happen. And so recall, we have the 4 aspects of total behavior, which are doing, thinking, feeling, and physiology. You have had it happen to you when you have been embarrassed and you get the warmth, or you have been triggered and your jaw clenches, or you feel chest pressure or tightness. Now, from a trauma medicine and from a fight or flight point of view, the body will light up when we are frightened. And what we do know is that it's different for every person. And so while you may get a feeling in the pit of your stomach, somebody else may get a chest pressure or tightness, somebody else may clench their jaw and get a clenching here, somebody else is going to have a headache, like this. Somebody else is going to have bowel disturbances, sorry, but they're going to feel like they need to go to the bathroom or they're going to need to pee. As it's going to be more of a second chakra way down there kind of thing. People are going to not feel grounded and feel a lot of anxiety around a certain thing. So what we notice over the millennia around the Ayurvedics, and again, my mission here really is to say that a lot of different theories say a lot of the same things. I work in physical medicine, mental health. I work in Western medicine. I'm on medical school faculties and university faculties teaching mental health. I'm not a physical medicine doctor. And my intention here is not to say that the Huna tradition is wrong and the Ayurvedic tradition is right, or the Native Americans had it all dialed in, but the Buddhists are wrong. What I'm noticing as I look at all these different traditions is that a lot of these traditions were saying the very same thing. And I want to bring that back to your felt sense of trauma and difficulty and emotions. So let's talk about the first chakra. There are seven. I can already hear the criticism. Well, there's technically more than seven, and there's a meridian system. Okay, just today, there's going to be seven, and we're going to talk about seven. And if you want to do a deep dive, later we can do that in terms of the auric chakras and the etheric chakras and all the Chinese meridian system and all that sort of thing. So the basics are root chakra, and there are smaller, shorter videos about this as well on Instagram. Chakra number one is called the root chakra. It is located at the anatomical coccyx, or if you have done yoga, sit in the lotus position, not something I can do. It is at the base of the spine. Now, there's different theories, different cultures. The Hawaiians put the earth element there. They believe that the root chakra is supported and it is connected to the earth element. And so the symbol for the earth element is a yellowish brown square. And so sometimes when I'm leading a meditation for Hunatics, for Huna students, I'll say, okay, imagine a cushion or a pillow of a yellowish brown pillow that you're sitting on, and send a connection or send some energy into the earth to ground you. We do an exercise at level 1 Huna where I will have them stand and I will have them just send connections into the earth to solidify their connection to the earth. So this chakra is about foundation. It's about connecting to the earth. It's about grounding. It's about feeling solid. It's about feeling safe and sound in your own skin. It's root. It's earthy, it's grounded. Now, too much earth, people can be rigid and unmovable and stubborn and digging their heels in. I mean, listen to the language. I'm digging my heels into the earth. You're not going to move me. So, and like with even like we talk about astrological signs. There are the positive aspects of being a Leo and there's the other aspects of being a Leo. Well, the chakras are the same thing. And so chakras are energetic centers where if you connect with them and you are very grounded, and I have a whole chakra clearing meditation you can get on the website. It's really cheap. And I hear it's life altering to really heal those chakras. So too much earth, too much root chakra, you are immovable. Think of the sumo wrestler, just big, grounded. And I have a lot of earth energy in my astrological sign, and I'm just a really earthy guy. And I can be rigid, and I can be stubborn, and I can be concrete, and now listen, I can be concrete, metaphorically concrete, like a brick, right? Dense, like a cinder block, grounded, earthy, immovable, solid. Now, the good news is that I try to be kind of calm, kind of peaceful. I try not to be easily triggerable. I look at that. And so there's always a balance in the root chakra of, are we grounded enough? Now, grounded also can mean peaceful, tranquil, chill, all that calm. It also can mean stubborn. It can mean overly grounded, immovable, rigid in your thinking, rigid in your body. It can actually manifest first chakra issues in terms of arthritis, things like that. And so I'm not going to go into the super details of each chakra and each disease system that can happen. But what we notice as we look at all of these different systems, we can look at German New Medicine, Ayurvedics, Chinese medicine, certainly Huna, Reiki. We can look at, and then Western medicine as well. that there are certain disease systems and things that happen as a result of too much earth, and like that. So, first chakra, base of the spine, called the root. It is also called yeah, it's called the root chakra. I don't know why I'm blanking on another word for it, but anyway, that's it. Second chakra. So if you think of the spinal column, now these chakras correspond with the spinal column. So about 3 inches below the belly button, below the navel, as we call it, the umbilicus, it is the second chakra. Now, energetically speaking, and when I say these things, this is a visualization. And the issue, as Newton and Darwinian physics came up, they couldn't prove things because they couldn't see them. And I don't even know that we can still see them, that we can. So it's a felt sense that they're there. So 3 inches below your navel is your second chakra, also called the sacral chakra. And I think sacral actually has two meanings. Sacral, I think, is also a root word for sacred, right? And also sacral in terms of the sacrum, the physiology of the lower back. The sacrum is the lower back. And so it is located 3 inches below. I did have a student once at Huna. This was cute. And I'm really blessed. People pretty much listen to me and they don't argue with me because I'm old and I'm kind of clear. So this woman came up at break at a Huna class, and I was teaching this exactly what I'm teaching now about the chakras. And we have a booklet that at Huna where you get certain symbols and you get initiated, and it's just lovely. And there's a chart of the moku from the Hawaiian tradition. Well, she didn't like where one of them was placed. And she said, well, this one right here is wrong. It's supposed to be here and you need to change it. And she was kind of outraged. And being snarky like I am and kind of irreverent, I said, well, I don't have permission from the Hawaiian culture to overturn 35,000 years of their perception of where the third moku is. I'm so sorry. Because she wanted us to change the booklet because it didn't correspond to her understanding. And this is the cool thing about Huna. Think not that all wisdom is in your school. That sold me. When I went to my first Huna class in Hawaii, when it was Kumu Mat, first day, first hour, slide, Ohe Pau Ko Ike Ko Halau, think not that all wisdom is in your school. I come from psychology, where everyone thinks their school is the only school and the only way. And I've been to conference after conference where theorists are fighting and arguing over cognitive behavioral therapy and, all of them, psychodynamic psychotherapy, and they're all arguing. Their way's the only way, their way's the right way. Buy my book, buy my program, go to my classes. And what a breath of fresh air to show up in Hawaii, never mind that, and being told by a master, yeah, we got some thinking. You got some. It was just so cool, right? Ohe Pau Ko Ike Ko Halau. I will never forget it that day. Think not that all wisdom is in your school. And then he went on to say, we know some stuff. You know some stuff. How about you shut up, leave your prior knowledge at the door, and you learn some stuff from us? How refreshing. Finally, we can acknowledge that maybe no one of us has all the answers. Maybe we could learn some things from a variety of different cultures and different traditions and different systems. So in my last 20 years or so, that's what I've been doing. I've been looking at all the systems and fascinated. I'm just geeking out on, ancient aliens and, alien abductions and pyramids and all those Discovery Channel and History Channel, because I'm curious. I'm just curious about it. And like I said in other videos, I believe in all of it. And I'm just curious to how it all works. So second chakra in the Ayurvedic system and the Hawaiian system is located about the same thing. Now, people think that sacral chakra is all about sex. It is in the area of the reproductive system, absolutely. Now, it runs from front to back. It is the diameter of a quarter, and people are going to go, how do you know it's the diameter of a quarter? This is the visual, this is the intuitive, this is what I get in meditation. I don't know. I can't prove it. It's a diameter, it's kind of a tube, runs from front to back. When I do visualizations for clients, when people come in and they're stuck sexually or they have impotence problems or reproductive problems, in my mind's eye, I visualize the chakra and I'll see blockages. And you can say, "Well, you can't prove that to me. You're full of shit." Okay, well, your chakra's full of shit, and you want me to clear it, I can clear it. And I joke, "I can't prove any of this shit to you. I can't prove any of it. So just shut up. And just if what I have to say is remotely valid, go with it and discard the rest." Anyway, sacral chakra, 3 inches below the belly button, from front to back. Now, it does handle intimacy of a sexual nature, but intimacy also of a sacred nature. We have these relationships, and I'm going to talk about, yeah, I'm going to get to it before we end today. We have karmic relationships where, and that's probably going to be a whole nother video about, we have energy with somebody, positive, negative, good, bad, and ugly. And as I'm coming to understand human relationships, the goal, a goal, is to evolve some of these karmic relationships into divine relationships. And so that's, I think, a subject for a whole nother day. But the idea of a divine relationship that starts as a karmic relationship. Now, you may have met someone and you just feel a connection. You feel like you've known them your whole life. Now, that could be a past life thing. It could be a karmic thing. We don't know. People you are really attracted to, sorry, exes you're having a hard time letting go of, probably a karmic relationship. You two have karma together. You have karma to work out together. And that the relationship, if it's able to get through the karma, the patterns, the trends, the habits, the communication, the intimacy, whatever it is, you can move into a divine relationship, which is then much more positive and much easier. Now, I'll tell you, divine relationships are much less dramatic than karmic relationships. Karmic relationships have a lot of spice. They can be very intense, extremely thin, and they are rooted in the second chakra. But second chakra, please, it's not as simple as just sex. It is that intimacy. It is that connection energetically to a partner. The thing that many discussions about the second chakra leave off is that the second chakra is your seat of creativity. And so people will come to me, they'll do our monthly Ho'oku'u class, or they'll talk to me, they'll send me a message saying, I'm a writer, I'm a musician, I'm a composer, I'm a something or other, and I feel totally blocked. My creativity is completely stuck. When we do our release work, where we often find the block is in the second chakra. Now, sometimes they'll say, I'm also blocked in relationships, or I'm having sexual dysfunction, or I can't conceive, or I can't, that kind of thing. So it's all there. But make no mistake that if you are struggling with creativity, meaning you just feel stuck, you're just not even intimately, maybe you're married or you've got a spouse, or partner, and that's actually going pretty well, but you have some sort of a creative outlet and you just don't feel like you're actualizing your capacity. You feel like you're just falling short. That take a look in the second chakra, and the second chakra could be a place. All right, third chakra, solar plexus, 3 inches above the navel. Now, I already have people. The reason I know I have people that go, well, did you get a protractor out? Did you get a ruler, a slide? No. These energy centers, based on the size, if it's a little kid who's 40 pounds, it's not going to be 3 inches. I'm a larger man, maybe let's say it's a rockin' 3.5 inches. You get the point. It's in the area of the abdomen. So if you, for example, have some sort of a trigger or a trauma where you feel like you've been punched in the stomach, that would be third chakra. So think about it. Whether that's fear, whether it's anger, sadness, hurt, guilt, whatever the trigger is. Now, remember, from fight or flight medicine, the stress reduction model, we form hydrochloric acid. We get butterflies in our stomach. We have, tension. Now, I will tell you that the third chakra has to do with our self-esteem. It has to do with our safety and security. There is a love aspect to it. It has to do with more of if intimacy is in the second chakra with one other person in terms of monogamy or your partner or sex and all that. Third chakra has to do with familial love, tribal love, group love, community, sense of belonging to a larger congregation, church, clubs, jobs, And one of the things that we know is that being ostracized, exiled, kicked out. So I will have people come into the office. We're doing some release work. They're having a lot of release in their third chakra. I will intuit. I say, well, it seems like you've been exiled or kicked out, sent to Siberia. Metaphorically, and they say, "Yeah, I just got fired from my job, or I just was asked." Or I have teenagers. A lot of teenagers say, "My friend group won't talk to me anymore." That kind of thing. My friends won't talk to me anymore, and they're having a lot of third chakra abdominal stuff. And so the third chakra has to do with our reputation with ourself, how we feel about ourselves, and our connection in more of a divine. Fourth chakra is even more divine, but this is not quite as, it's not sexual. It's more the love and belonging need, feeling like I belong to something, to someone, that I'm welcomed. We're starting a lot of new students and new interns and stuff right now here at the first of the year at Heads Up, and I'm very aware that they feel like a fish out of water. That it's a new job for them. It's a new environment. So we do our best here at Heads Up to welcome them and introduce them ourselves and shepherd them into the fold, if you will. We just had our staff meeting, as we do on Fridays right before this call. And so we have a couple new people, and we're just trying to welcome them so that they feel like they're part of it. That's a third chakra kind of thing. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is the heart chakra. And so if third is abdomen, solar plexus, it's called the solar plexus chakra. The fourth chakra is right between the breasts, has a larger diameter, even larger than a quarter, from front to back. And this would be the divine chakra, the divine love chakra, much more of an altruistic, like my heart goes out to you. And you can hear the chakra system referenced in a lot of our language. Oh, my heart hurts for them. My heart goes out to them. That would be the divine sense of the heart connection. The other thing that is often lost about the heart chakra, I keep pointing to my chest here, is that it is the bridge between the lower, more physical and denser chakras and the upper, more spiritual chakras. So this heart chakra, we've got 3 up here, we've got 3 down there. This heart chakra is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. I mean, if you want to get really granular, it's the bridge between the heart center, the denseness of the physicality of intimacy and sex and foundation, and then the upper chakras of self-expression, spirituality, cognition, the mental capacities, and ultimately spirituality and the connection to source. So this is called the heart chakra. It is chakra number 4, runs from front to back. And people say I have a broken heart. This is where a broken heart lives. This is where my heart goes on. My heart will go on, the theme from Titanic. This is where it lives. And I consider, if second is sexual and creativity, third is familial and tribal, fourth is divine. So fourth is if you have a sexual attraction to someone, or you fall in love. Let's say, and again, I'm not going to be crass about this. It happens every day. It's the love makes the world go round, right? We initially are attracted by someone's physicality. And now I work with a lot of people who are trying to date, and they're on social media apps, all the different ones, and they're scrolling right and they're scrolling, not scrolling, swiping right, swiping left. I don't really understand what that means, but they do. And they're like, oh, on whatever app this is, I had a date, and wow, he or she is just super attractive, but I'm not feeling a spark. That's chakra stuff. Wow, second chakra is going crazy. Like, whoo, that's hot. But I don't know if I want this person in my family. Oh, I don't know if I'm feeling a sense of divine love. Now, the people and the animals, got a new dog in our family. My son, Josh, who's on here, got a new grand dog. And Revan is his name. He's adorable. He was picked up yesterday or day before at the shelter. Adorable. I met him last night on Zoom. And I will be in Phoenix in a couple of weeks, and I will meet him in person. So the love that emerges in our evolution of relationships of all kinds, right? So then think about it. You have a baby, and the baby is not going to be a second chakra connection. It's going to be a heart center chakra. It's going to be a family, divine love kind of thing. And you're going to do everything to protect that baby. You're going on a date, and you're going to initially maybe be connected at the second chakra level. Like, wow, I want some of that. But then as that relationship evolves, it moves into the more tribal, familial, altruistic kind of love into a divine love, where you fall in love, and it's like you even forget. I am married, and I'm married to a very handsome, handsome man, and I forget. I forget that he's so handsome. We've been together 25 years, and women and beasts alike just think he is the hottest thing going. And I have to remind myself, because 25 years, we've moved past that. I know you all understand that thing, that you are attracted to them physically, then over time other types of love evolves, and that's kind of the divine love of the fourth chakra. Okay, number 5 is it's right at the Adam's apple here. It's the 5th chakra. It is the center of self-expression, and it is the voice box. And so if you're a male, it is at the location of the Adam's apple. If you're female, it is where an Adam's apple would be if you had one. And it is called the center of self-expression. It is where the voice is, not surprisingly, and it's the chakra number 5. It also runs from front to back in the neck. And interestingly, when I do release work with people and they are releasing 5th chakra stuff, they'll start to cough and hack and not choke like they're going to die, but that kind of stuff. And they weren't doing it before the session. After the session, it's over. But if you start to kind of clench up here, feel like there's a frog in your throat around an emotional issue, you get all choked up. Sorry, all choked up. My heart hurts. My heart go on. My heart goes on. My heart will go on. Celine Dion tells me, and I get all choked up. That is the 5th chakra. It is your self-expression, but it's more than just speaking. It's that reciprocal loop of you feeling heard, you feeling visible, you feeling like you are seen, you are noticed, that you matter, and that what you say and do has something to do that other people will think is helpful and supportive. And so for those of you that are caregivers out there, your 5th chakra, it's not, people think, oh, it's just about speech. No, it's about your making a difference in the world, being seen, being like the influencers now on YouTube. I'm an aspiring influencer with all of my 37 subscribers, and I see. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So you feeling heard, you feeling like your voice matters, you feeling like your voice doesn't fall on deaf ears, you feeling as though you can express yourself, you can come out with your opinions, and that reciprocal loop is that not only can you be heard, but be seen and be visible, but you can say things that other people find important. And so people with 5th chakra challenges often are not feeling heard. They feel stifled. They feel like they're being choked off, cut off, not heard, not listened to. Their voice isn't heard. Their voice doesn't matter. They don't have a voice. And this happens at the corporate level. This happens in families. This happens everywhere, where I keep, and I did a video a few weeks ago about if you don't feel heard, or if someone is repeating themselves a lot. Recently on a plane, it was cute. This kid was good. I get a little bit concerned when little kids get on the plane, because usually they want to play footsie with me and they want to play peekaboo with me for 7 hours. And this little girl got on, and she was precious and she was sweet, and she sat right behind me with her daddy, and it was she and her dad. And she was great. She played, and she had her iPad, and I think she was 5 or 6, and she was just precious. Really, just a joy. I had a lovely time with her. And the plane landed, and you know how people stand up, the plane lands, people stand up, and she just said, "Daddy, excuse me, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." She kept saying it like Daddy. And, kids, they'll just keep repeating themselves until finally she puts her hands on her hips and she screamed, "Daddy, you are not hearing me. I need you to hear me right now." Now that was after 25 daddies. And we all just laughed, cracked up, because she was like, "You are not hearing me. I need you to come down here right now and hear me." And it was perfect. And many of us would like to do that. And I always admire 3 to 5-year-olds for their ability to be very clear and very direct. That's a 5th chakra thing. She was not feeling heard, so she's going to repeat, and she's going to raise the volume until Daddy finally hears her. And he did. He knows better. So that's the fifth chakra. Sixth chakra, right here. Now, some people think it's here. Some people think it's here. It doesn't matter. Wherever you think it is fine. It's not an anatomical lesson. It's called the third eye, the sixth chakra. This is your seat. Now, ironically, this is where your biological anatomical pineal gland is located. And pineal gland has some hormonal and endocrinological, if you will, if that's a word, implications. But the pineal gland in a more metaphysical, spiritual realm is thought to be the seat of human intuition. And so intuition, third eye, it's so you got your two here and you got your one here. These two see, this one sees, but it sees in a more metaphysical, intuitive, and psychic sense. And I believe, as I've talked at length, that all of us have the ability to have an intuition and have a gut feeling about things. And this is where this is. This is where. Now, interestingly, I have a client right now who has a tumor near or around his pineal gland that's been documented on MRI and CT and stuff. And he is not able to perform aspects of his job that require a lot of repetition and sort of rote memorization. And I'm careful, I'm not going to get into what he does, but he has been put on medical disability by virtue of this tumor because he took himself off of duty. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what he does, but he also is noticing that he feels cut off from his intuition, and that things that used to be second nature to him that he would do by rote memorization, it was just like that he would have to start thinking, and really it worried him. So he took himself off duty for a while, and he's getting the care he needs. And we're working on that. In terms of release work. He's also seeing, physicians and oncologists and things to handle that. And he's doing very well, But so third eye, sixth chakra is the seat of your intuition. And finally, seventh chakra, crown of the head, top of the head, somewhere up here, has to do with your connection with source. It's called the crown chakra. Crown, referring to the crown of the head. Now, it is located either, depending on your system, depending on either the very top of the head here or back where, if you know what a cowlick is, where your hair has kind of that weird spiral thing. And so some theorists put it at the cowlick area, if you have one, and some put it right at the top, just like some people put the third eye here, some people put it here. I am less concerned about that than just what it does. And so the crown is thought to be your connection to spirit, connection to source, connection to all that is, connection to universal consciousness. And so I will have clients come in who say, gee, I feel like the Wi-Fi is down. My sixth and seventh chakras are blocked. And so we'll look at that. You'll run into people who they don't trust their gut. One of my favorite comics is Taylor Tomlinson. She's a young woman. She might be all of 30 now, poor thing. And she's just hilarious. And she talks about what it was like to be a single woman in her 20s. And she has a whole thing about, in our 20s, we don't have a gut. You know why we're thin? Because we don't have a gut to check yet. We're too young. We don't trust it. I get invited to my grandma's potluck and she says, Taylor, bring the napkins and they better not say Starbucks on them. And she does this whole thing about the development of the gut and the intuition and the wisdom that older people have. And so part of, I think, this, and then you'll see some children that are incredibly spiritual, incredibly connected, and that somehow we lose that. We've talked about that. But so the crown chakra is the seventh chakra, and that has to do with your connection to source, to spirit, to whoever your divine person, entity, being is up there. And we would say that that's an important thing to do. Now, some of you, as we've talked about in some of the psychic development things, are too open. And you've got the satellite dish thing going on where you are receiving everybody's negativity and all the sun and the moon and the stars and every moon of any shape and size. And so some of the work that we do in psychic development and STFU is to maybe close that down a little bit. And always when I do a meditation with someone, particularly ho'oku'u, which is the releases, or if we're doing energy work, I'll say, okay, let's send an aka connection, a connection into the earth, meaning root chakra, and let's send a connection into the heavens, is what I just call it, the heavens, to kind of connect and bridge heaven and earth. And I'll say something, and this is when people are in trance, I'll say, reminding yourself that you're a spiritual being first, having a physical experience next, not the other way around. And that seems to be reassuring for people. So the last thing that I want to talk about today before we conclude is this whole idea of your shadow. And the shadow, by definition, was a concept first spoke about by Carl Jung, I believe. And he said that your shadow is that which you believe you are not. So if you have anything in your environment and you just shake your head and you say, well, I would never do that, or I could never do that, or that's just not me, and you're pointing a finger, as my mother used to say, see, notice that when you say, I would never do that, there's three fingers pointing back at you. Carl Jung talked about it just like a shadow, like you're walking in the sun. You don't notice your shadow. You don't see it. You know, the sun is coming up here. It's casting a shadow behind you, but you don't pay attention to your shadow. Well, psychologically, the shadow are those aspects of ourselves that are blind spots. We don't see them. And to do a lot of really defensive pointing the finger saying, well, I would never do that, or I could never do that. If you're really charged about it, that's a place for you to look. Now, this is funny. This is under the guise of we want to take as much responsibility for our stuff as possible. And all of my stuff about you have lots of things to blame, the sun, moon, and the stars, and burritos, and you've got lots of things you can blame for why you're grumpy or why it's not going well. And into the guise of let's take 100% responsibility, I think that not only your chakras and what's there, but also understanding that you have a shadow. And anytime you're doing the finger pointing or you're doing any sort of really super defensive, well, that's not me, I would never do that, I think that warrants your attention, frankly. I think the more, now, if you're neutral about it, just say, wow, I sure don't understand that behavior, but you're not charged about it, probably not a shadow issue. And there's some funny examples before we conclude. So I'm sitting on stage with Matt James, my teacher, teaches NLP, teaches Huna. He's brilliant, masterful. I still study with him. He's taught me so much. He's helped me in so many ways, and I highly think of him. And we're sitting on stage. We're going to co-lead the opening of a class. And what we do, of course, is we talk about you as you're coming into the classroom. And I'm only slightly joking. And so he has an even more irreverent sense of humor than I do. And it's just really fun to banter back and forth. And so he said, oh, wow, looks like some, I wonder what I'm doing to attract these people. I said, what are you talking about? And he says, well, I don't know. It seems like some of these people might not be too tightly wrapped, or they're too tightly wrapped, or they're too loosely wrapped. I forget the exact phrase. And he says, what am I doing to attract these people into my environment? Under the guise of I want to take 100% responsibility. And I just looked at him. I said, Matthew James, are you nuts? You teach shamanistic ancient Hawaiian studies on the big island of Hawaii. You don't think you're going to attract a nut or two, on occasion? He just howled. I have another person I interact with. I work in psychiatry. And she is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. So one day she calls me up. She goes, I don't know what I'm creating. I don't know what I'm manifesting. This must be a shadow issue. Today, on the girls' unit, the adolescent girls' unit, they staged a sit-in. They sat down in the day room. They overturned the tables and chairs. They refused to take their meds. They locked arms in solidarity, and they refused to eat, refused to drink, and refused to take their meds. What am I doing? And she's coming to me like I'm the guru, I'm the master of all wisdom, and I'm going to bestow upon her my wisdom about her shadow. And that clearly this, she's manifesting this sit-in of these adolescent girls, and it's her fault. And if only she was something more, or she wasn't too much of this or too much of that, or must she be so? She says, what am I doing? I said, you're a psychiatrist in a girls' unit. You don't think you're going to attract a crazy girl or two? And she laughed. So please, I'm going to leave you with this. You can take as much responsibility for you as you want. The other thing is, why do I have all these screaming kids? You're a parent. Why do I have, why you know who you are. I work with an OBGYN. Why all these babies? You're an OBGYN. That's why all the babies. I work with neurosurgeons. Why all of these brain injuries? You're a neurosurgeon, right? So I'm sitting here at the clinic right now, and if I were to say, why are these crazy people? Why are these depressed people? Why are these veterans? You have a veterans program. So evaluate that. Stop blaming yourself for things coming up in your environment that you are attracting because you want to. You want to have kids. You got kids. Kids are challenging. Sorry. Toddlers are challenging. Why do I have all these dogs? Because you have dogs. You know, why am I so hot in the summer? You live in Las Vegas. So as you're looking at yourselves and self-evaluating, be kind. Be kind on yourself. If you've made a career choice that's no longer serving you, you can always change it. But don't beat yourself up and don't say, oh, it's some shadow issue. Clearly, I need to know. Clearly, I'm depressed because I work with all these depressed people. It's like the oncologist saying, well, clearly I must have cancer in order to treat people with cancer. No, you're an oncologist. That's why you're seeing cancer patients. It's not a personality flaw. It's not a deficit. And so look at the choices you make around career and around family and around relationships. And if there's something that's not quite sitting with you, you can always change it. But understanding not everything is a shadow issue. You're not that, sorry, you're not that powerful to manifest the sun, the moon, and the stars. What did I do to cause the blah, blah, blah that's happening in society? Nothing. What am I doing to attract these certain kinds of people? Probably nothing. So have at it. Lovely to see you again today, and we will see you. Now, there will not be a YouTube Live next Friday because I'll be in Montana teaching the doctors, the affectionately known as the Teaching Doctors Not to Be Assholes class, where I have neurosurgeons and doctors of all shapes and sizes. So we will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend. Love you all.